One, two, three, four.
Hello, you're listening to the SKYLIT Books podcast series. We are a general interest independent bookstore located in the Los Feliz neighborhood of Los Angeles, California. This year, because of the coronavirus pandemic, we've had to close our store and cancel in-person events. But SKYLIT is your neighborhood bookstore, and we are finding ways to create community even while we're far apart. In the coming weeks, we'll be putting out lots of new audio content to help you discover new books, connect with authors, and check in with your favorite booksellers. To learn more about how you can help keep SKYLIT alive, please visit our website at skylitbooks.com or check out our social media accounts on Twitter and Instagram. You can subscribe to the podcast on Podbean, iTunes, and Spotify. Thank you for listening and enjoy.
All right, well, hello again to my beautiful listeners, and welcome to SKYLIT. This is the SKYLIT Books podcast, and I'm your host, Lance Morgan. I'm just so happy to be here again. Today, we're welcoming Dee Lebowitz to read from her new book, The Marks Left on Her. They'll be in conversation with me afterwards, but before I introduce her, I just want to remind you that SKYLIT Books is offering curbside pickup and online ordering on our website, www.skylitbooks.com. We're also right now open with limited capacity, but we're a little bit more expanded than before. So please come on by. We're still practicing social distancing and CDC regulations, so bring your mask, but come by. We're so happy to see you. Dee Lebowitz was born and raised in Hong Kong, but spent the majority of her adult life in the UK. She's very proud of her Jewish and Hong Kongese heritage. She has a BA in religion, philosophy, and ethics, PGCE, and MA in religious education from King's College, London. When she's not writing, she's a qualified Krav Maga self-defense instructor, which I want to say is just so cool. And she has her own kids self-defense school, and she's an instructor at the Krav Maga London. Dee, welcome. I'm so excited to have you here.
I'm very excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Afterwards, I'm sad that you can't show us some Krav Maga skills here, but maybe, you know what? Maybe I'll ask for some afterwards, but right. That's for off the podcast. Maybe maybe we'll do like a Patreon where you can teach our listeners some cool skills. Oh my God. But you have a reading for us, and I'm so excited to hear it.
Yes, I do. So I thought that I would read from the prologue, just give the readers who are new to this book kind of an insight and a context to what the book is about, and then an extract from one of the chapters from my book, just so your listeners are aware. All the chapters in my book are based on my memory. So everything that's happened in the book is real. So these are actually events in my life. Obviously names and everything like that has been changed to protect people's identities, but everything here is based on real life. So let's start. Let's get the right page. I'm going to start. Is that okay? Brilliant. For almost a decade, I was unable to talk to anyone, let alone myself, about what I had dubbed the incident, the consequences of which called into question my memory, my sanity, and my entire being, to the point where I had begun to think of myself as a mad woman lost, some deranged woman gone astray. It took almost 10 years to finally admit to myself what had happened to me, and even to this day, I still struggle with something that echoes of taboo, shame, and guilt. Flash forward to 2 years ago, over coffee above Waterloo Station with my close friend, A.W. I was asked a question that would be the catalytical motivation for writing this book. She asked, why does their learning have to involve our pain? By their, A.W. meant the men that have left footprints or even craters on our lives. Those poignant words lingered within for days as I realized I had no way to answer that question. I simply didn't know, and that bothered me. It bothered me like the itchy lace bra strap that digs into your body, which has in turn been told constantly it would never be perfect, nor even satisfactory. It bothered me like the agonizing uterine ache that you get when you're on your period, while your male boss doesn't quite understand why you need a minute just to breathe through the pain with a clenched smile. It bothered me. So, what began as an attempt to answer AW's question became a means to self-examine, to find a way to purge myself of the events that led up to and followed the incident. This grew almost organically into a collection of scribbled down memories that had been burrowed deep within. Those memories eventually formed the story which you're about to read. All of those stories are based on true events of my life, starting from Hong Kong, then to Paris, Cumbria, and finally London. Every effort has been made to portray actual events accurately, but they're nonetheless based on my memory. Where specific details of events cannot be recalled, I hope to convey their emotional truth to preserve the story's authenticity. All names of people mentioned in this book have been changed to protect their identities. Our main character is unnamed, and this was a deliberate choice. There are so many girls and women out there who suffer or have suffered and survived that do not get named. This book is for them, the innumerable unnamed girls and women, so that you may know and be reminded you are not alone. Okay, so this is taken from chapter 17, which is called More Like Susanna. Why can't you be more like Susanna? Her mother sighed at the girl. But she couldn't be more like Susanna, even if she tried. She wanted to badly, desperately. God, does she want to. Susanna was half Caucasian and half Hong Kongese, but in so many ways so different from the girl. Susanna, with a perfect posture, slender, athletic figure, the long, silky brown hair, the perfect manners. Susanna, who spoke softly and sweetly, with the fluttering eyelashes and a cute smile. The girl looked at her mother and met the disappointment she saw with frustration of her own. Could her mother not see? Could she not see that one question she should never ask her daughter? Could her mother not tell that she was asking for her daughter to become someone else? Could her mother not foretell that those words would haunt her for many years to come? The girl continued to hold her mother's gaze as she attempted to convey how hurt she was by those sour words, but nothing got through. Instead, her mother repeated the question, rubbing salt on the wound. Why can't you be more like her, huh? She is so sweet. She speaks so sweetly, sweet words, sweet smile. Many people like Susanna, not like you. You so rough, so direct, too rough, not sweet like her. You must learn from her, learn to be more like her. Those words were acid as she swallowed them. They had begun to burn a hole through the girl's confidence, a hole that would grow bigger and deeper. If being more like Susanna would mean my mother would like me more, then I guess I'll just have to try and be like her, thought the 14-year-old girl. The girl concluded if she was going to be more like Susanna, she would first need to look like her. So, one evening, she decided to study her naked body in the bathroom mirror. She had to stand on the toilet seat to get a full-length view of herself. She had seen herself naked thousands of times, but it had never occurred to her until then to really look at herself. If I'm more like Susanna, maybe Mom would like me better. Maybe the boys at school would stop teasing me for being such a tomboy. Maybe they would even fancy me and give me a second glance. As she examined her body, Words she never thought she would ever associate with herself sprang up one after the other. I don't see a Susanna. I only see me. I don't see a Susanna. I only see me. And all I see is a fat, ugly, frizzy-haired tomboy. I don't see a Susanna. I only see me. Why can't I look more like Susanna? Why? That was the first time the girl ever cried in the shower.
Wow, that was so powerful to hear. No problem. I want to start off this conversation. I wanted to start off the conversation asking more about you first before we got into the book, but I'm going to change it up because I just hearing you talk about that. I mean, one, I think there is no separation or little separation from you in that book, but just hearing you talk about it, I felt the pain and the memory and emotions coming from that from you. How did it feel writing that? Like writing that and hearing even just now speaking it.
Writing it was really difficult. It when I first started writing, I didn't actually intend for it to become a book. I had no intention for it to be published or anything like that. It was simply because of, so basically when I was 17, I was sexually assaulted by my ex-boyfriend. And I never talked about it. I never told anyone. I told like one person at the time. And then throughout my life, maybe like 2 people. It was never discussed, and I kind of just blocked it off. And over time, because I had a lot of unresolved issues, a lot of rage, I went through like depression and PTSD and all of that, which I didn't know what was happening at that time. I just sort of never dealt with it. And then through conversations with my friend AW, who was my mentor when I was doing my teacher training, she was one of the few people who knew. I suddenly, on my way to work to school one day, had kind of a memory that just popped up. And it was a very, very unpleasant one, something that I hadn't thought about. And it caught me completely off guard. And I thought, okay, well, I'm just going to write it down because I've always been a writer. I've written poetry, written different things. And so I wrote on my phone, and then I immediately felt better in that I was suddenly acknowledging that these things happened. And I thought, okay, well, let's work through that, and let's try and articulate and attribute language to different things that have happened. And it was like opening the floodgates suddenly, because I let one thing out, everything just went and it was a very confusing time, and really sort of up and down emotionally. I thought, okay, well, I'm just going to write everything down. So just whatever came in, just scribbled it down. At first, they were kind of like 2-3 sentences of like, this kind of happened. It was like a flashlight. This happened, this happened, this happened. And my friend AW said, well, write it all down, make it into kind of a cohesive story, whether you publish it or not. This is just going to help kind of make sense of everything that kind of happened throughout your life and your identity and everything like that. So I did. And then it became a book. It was just so accidental. Cathartic, definitely cathartic, but really difficult to write, because as soon as I decided, okay, I'm going to make this into like a book, even forget about publishing it first, I thought, this needs to be written well. I need to do this justice. So every time I went back to kind of write it, I was being transported to that memory. And it was really, really difficult, because it's like reliving it over and over again.
Did anything, I mean, in this, you kind of said it a little bit, but was there anything in the book that came out in the book that was a memory that just surprised or shocked you? that was just like something that like you didn't even see coming? You couldn't see coming in a way.
Yeah, that's a very good question, because the chapter that I chose to read for you, More Like Susanna, that would happen when I was 14. And it just kind of popped up and it caught me off guard. And I remember my mother, so Susanna was this girl at school, she was also half white, half Hong Kongese, but she was very girly and feminine and everything like that. And me being this tomboy, I've always been this tomboy. That memory really caught me off guard, because it made me, I think because my mom wanted me to be like her so much, and I deliberately became the opposite, it kind of informed a lot of my life choices later on. And even now, I'm, not the most feminine of women out there. And that was a bit of a surprise, because it wasn't something that I had kind of trudged through my life, like my memory palace, and gone, oh, I need to think about that. It just came up.
Wow. And that just might, I mean, I feel like that's such a powerful memory tool for like also healing, if you agree. Like it feels like very connected to like your present life, those past memories. Did you feel any healing in that way while writing this book?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Not at the time. At the time, I mean, there were moments where I'm like, why did I decide to do this? This is crazy.
Right.
I'm giving myself, making myself relive terrible memories for the sake of a book, for the sake of my art. But then when it was all done, I was just sobbing, because it wasn't like a sad sob. It was just, yes, these things happened to me, but I've worked through that, and I'm a stronger person for that. And now I'm able to use my life experiences to help and support others who may be in similar situations, or know other people who are in similar situations, and be like, it's not okay now, but you can work through it and things can get better.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel like that's some good therapy right there too, right? If you have any listeners, if you have any like thing you need to get through, write it, make a book. I feel like that there's been such a trend too, in the especially in the Me Too era, of like these stories coming out of people who have repressed these memories and have made a kind of, but like you read their books and you're just like, oh wow, but every choice they made, or a lot of choices they make, were because of these things that they've been forced to repress because of society, because they've had to go on living their lives, because they've had to like survive in this world after that. Yeah. Seeing yourself kind of join this group of writers, how does it feel to be like, to one, see this as a part of a collective of work, but also now having these other writers too have similar stories? How does that feel?
Humbling. It's humbling, because I still don't see myself as a writer. I know it sounds strange.
No, I get it.
It's like, me, writer? No, it's like a book, that's it. So it's humbling, and it's a privilege to be in this collective, to join the conversation, to join this movement, to get women more comfortable to talk about these sorts of things. It's interesting that you mentioned the Me Too, because when Me Too was like first kicking off, I had wanted to start writing, because I was looking at first, I was like, wow, this, so many women, so many stories. It happens too often. It was scary. It was like a huge eye-opener. But then when I was looking through these stories, a lot of the women of color, othered women who don't fit that white middle class box, they weren't being represented. I struggled to find their stories on social media. We had to really trudge through it. Mainstream media, Hollywood kind of just took over that, and it was
Mhm.
it became a different narrative. So at that time, I thought I want to add to that because I'm not seeing women of color, other women being represented. But I chickened out. I guess I wasn't ready at that time to do that, and so I'm glad that it happened when it did.
No, and I mean, especially the way that the choice you made in not naming your main character to like kind of let other women be able to see themselves through the story, that feels like also a part of that collective as well. Can you talk about that choice? That's something you decided from like minute one of deciding to write this story?
To be honest, no, it wasn't. It wasn't from the first instance. I wanted a way to write about the very traumatic experiences without
Mhm.
getting too emotionally and psychologically attached. I was concerned
Mhm.
because if I was writing it in the first person, it would just be too close. So I decided to write in the third person to kind of give some
Mhm.
distance between myself and the events that happened.
Mhm.
And then as I was writing, and then I was doing more research into just within the UK,
Yeah.
figures of sexual assault and what's happening and stuff like that. I thought, well, this could be anybody. It doesn't
Mhm.
have to be me, it could be all my friends, it could be absolutely anybody. So I then decided to keep it as either the girl or daughter or she, her. I'm using the
Mhm.
pronouns and keeping it unnamed. And I thought, I can't, I realized I couldn't really do anything to just change society, really.
Mhm.
I couldn't just like get rid of all of that and make the world a better place. So that sounds really naive. I thought, okay, what can I offer as a human being?
Mhm.
Well, this is all I can really offer at this point. So
Mhm.
other women can have my story and they can see
Right.
themselves and feel a sense of community and strength through that. And that's kind
Mhm.
of my offering for them.
And that's beautiful. I mean, to be able to give that gift into the world and the gift of your story in that way to kind of separate yourself from that story. That's really, I mean, admirable. Something that I admire in that. I admire you, Dee. I admire you and your
Oh,
work.
you're making me blush, Lance.
No, you deserve it. You deserve it. Another subject in your book I really want to talk about because this is very important to me. I think I've mentioned it before on the podcast, so my listeners already know. I'm first generation American, and my parents immigrated from Jamaica, which is, I mean, in the UK, there's a huge Jamaican population too. You can mention there's the Windrush that happened, and all just like that. I have a lot of family over there. So, and reading, I mean, one of my favorite subjects to read about is like immigrant displacement, and like that, I feel like is a heavily talked about subject in your book. Can you, was that something that like you went into the book being like, this is going to be something I want to focus on? Or was that something that just came naturally as you were writing?
It came naturally.
Mhm.
Um, I thought that as I was writing, because basically how I started writing the book was I wrote down the most traumatic events first, because that was
Mhm.
purging. And then I wanted to sort of dissect how did like all the events that kind of surround leading up to and followed those
Mhm.
events. And I think that kind of just, yeah, that happened naturally. I wanted to understand like
Mhm.
who I am as a person, who I am as a
Okay.
mixed race person, being the
Mhm.
only mixed race person in my family, what kind of
Mhm.
implications that has or had on my identity and how I relate
Mhm.
to traditional cultures,
Mhm.
because I'm not traditional, I'm very, very liberal about everything. And that kind of clashes with a lot of the cultural expectations that that still exist in Hong Kong in terms of
Mhm.
what a girl should look like, how she should behave, what kind of jobs she should have, even how her
Mhm.
hair should be, that kind of, kind of stuff.
How, and how has, I mean, talking about this in the book, and I mean, I'm only assuming your family knows about this and knows that about this book coming out. How has that been received for you? And if that's too personal a question, I will retract it 100%. But like, how has your family received that too?
It's been a mixed bag. So my
Mm-hmm.
family did not know I was writing a book.
Mm-hmm.
Auntie only found out when I announced the book cover on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
My
Wow.
mother and I at this point are estranged, so we're not at a
Mm-hmm.
talking kind of situation. Hopefully that will be resolved in the future, but we're not in a position where we're currently talking. Grandma, who features heavily in the book, and she's like
Mm-hmm.
my idol, my mentor, I love her so much. She doesn't
Mm-hmm.
full stop
Mm-hmm.
illiterate,
Yeah.
unfortunately. So English would just be like
Yeah.
totally out. But my cousins, they've been very, very supportive and looking forward to seeing it through kind of my eyes. Some of the things they
Mm-hmm.
would be like, oh yeah, I remember this happening and stuff like that. So I'm quite nervous to see what specifically, what my auntie is going to say,
Mm-hmm.
because she's from an older generation.
Right.
So it's quite sort of like, oh, what's going to
It's so interesting to look at too, that generational, I don't even say gap, because it doesn't seem like generational understanding of stories of the past. Because one, we see memories differently from them. I mean, everyone has their own perspective on events, but to just like the idea of like, I mean, I've been in that place where I've been like, how do I mean, I even with this podcast, like, how do I want to present myself and the things I say in my family and stuff? So even to this extent, I just, again, admire you for that too, for being brave. But again, like, admire your cousins who you say support you and all of that. That's amazing that you have that support system, and I'm happy you do. Um, I want to one thing I really wanted to focus on, because you have such a trust in your memories. And I've read authors who talked about their past, and I've talked about it in the sense of like, my memories are up to debate because it's something that um, I'm only, the only reliable sense I have is my memories. And so things change, you grow, you don't, things dull in that sense. But you have such a strong belief and trust in your memories that I admire. And I would love to hear your why, just not even why you have this trust, but how that feels to have this trust.
That's a really good question.
Thank you.
I have this immense trust in my memory because I think you are who you are based on your memory of all your life events.
Mm-hmm.
So you are Lance right now because
Right.
what you remember, and that has
Mm-hmm.
kind of affected how you think about certain things and your different worldviews.
Yeah.
And I believe that because I wrote this book, I mean, I'm going to be 37 this year. This is telling my age. So I believe because I wrote this book not as a young person, I'm not that young anymore. I have such a strong sense of who I am now and who I am in terms of my identity and how I relate to other people and my own meta narrative that
Mm-hmm.
that means I can have a strong trust in my memory because I know what happened, I know the experiences that I've had and how they have shaped and formed me. That
Mm-hmm.
makes sense. I don't think if I wrote this even 10 years ago, I would have the same trust or confidence in my memory. And that is just, but bearing in mind certain things like when I wrote early in the book, memories from
Mm-hmm.
7 or 8, a lot of the dialogue had to be paraphrased because
Right.
I just can't remember like word for word what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I think every time we revisit a memory, something can change.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they've done like scientific studies on that. So we will remember this podcast a little bit differently to
Yeah.
how it actually happened today. And
Mm-hmm.
then 2 weeks from now, we're going to remember a little bit differently, and then a year, and so on and so forth. But I think having a strong sense of self really, really helps with the trust and memory.
And I feel like, I mean, that comes across, and even just hearing you talk about it, it's just that strong self, the strong sense of trust. And I mean, I think your readers will definitely pick that up too, because it's so powerful throughout the book. I want to know how you, I mean, the book is going to be, from the podcast recorded now, the book's going to be released in a week and a half, right?
Yes.
A week and a half.
Less than a week and a half. It's next Tuesday. It's coming
so
out.
It's a week and a day. Wow. So how does that feel too? I usually when I talk, the book is even closer.
I'm super nervous. I don't know why, but I'm like super nervous. Because I'm excited to see what the book will look like. The final
the physical. Yeah.
What it smells like. I love the way books smell. I don't like I need a book.
No, the same way.
And I'm nervous because this is my life.
Yeah.
And there is a sense of vulnerability to that. So when people read it, they'll be reading my life. When people review it or critique it, they're not just critiquing the way I write, which that's absolutely fine, but they would also be making a judgment on my life. And I knew that as soon as I started to publish it, I had to have that conversation with myself and be okay with it. Right. But I am still quite nervous about it because it's my first book. I never even dreamed this would happen. Like beyond any, didn't even think this was even ever possible.
Right.
It still feels quite surreal.
Well, as a person who both read the book and listened to you talk about it, I'm not surprised. I am not surprised that this is happening to you. So like, congratulations on that. And do you have any advice for people? Because I feel like a book like yours, and again, that collective you're a part of, has inspired so many young people, and not even young people, because there's so many people of all ages whose stories haven't been told yet. But like, now a book like this can inspire someone to tell that story. Do you have any advice for them for like making that journey after you just made this journey?
I would say first tell it to themselves in whatever shape or form. So if writing it physically comes more naturally, then do that. If recording it like an audio kind of voice memo feels more natural, do that. But I think you first need to tell the story to yourself and kind of accept that that's happened in order to allow for the healing process to begin. I think until there's an acceptance, it's very difficult to invite the healing and the positivity that comes with, with that journey later on. But definitely get started. Otherwise, it'll never get written.
No, that's, great advice to all the writers. I need to hear that. Like, get started on it. And let's get to work, people. So I usually start, but I wanted to like hear more about the book. But I usually ask this question to writers about how like what they've been doing during the pandemic, like reading, or what have they been reading or watching or listening to that's helped. But I want to know more because I feel like with writing a book like this, you would have to like make sure you're making space for yourself in your own every day-to-day life to like, maybe step back from it, get away from it a little bit. Has there been anything that you were reading or watching or listening to that kind of helped give you that space to step away from it when you needed to even recharge?
It sounds really corny. I watched reruns of The West Wing over and over.
Yes.
In the run up to the elections, I was like, come on, let's change things.
Yeah.
Living through The West Wing, because that's like my sanity. And
I get that.
My partner buy me a punching bag. I said, we're going to be locked in this small apartment. We hadn't moved at that time. A small apartment. I need a punching bag because I'm not going to survive. So West Wing punching bag.
No, the punching bag, yes. I've been debating about getting one. I mean, especially during some of the harder times of the pandemic, I was like, maybe this would help. So you know what, you're convincing me. But the West Wing I also get, because the whole show is about, and I talk about it a lot because it's kind of this imaginary, hopeful government world where everyone's friends, and there's like borders connecting both sides of the political sphere, and like people want best for the world, which is like, all right, well, I wish that was true, right? But like, no, not to go too much into the West Wing, but I mean, of course I will. That season 2 arcs, just like of like what the assistant dying and Josh recovering from getting shot and all of these like the entire time I was like, wow, what a scrappy group. The conservative Republican who joins the staff but is like dealing with that, but also, I mean, there's so much in there. I was like, yeah, this would be the perfect like government. This would be it. This is what I want for a government. Even though I'm just like, this is probably, I mean, Martin Sheen as the president is like one of my TV crushes.
That would be my dream come true if he actually became.
Yes.
Please.
Every time that scene where he's like talking down to the lady who won't sit up when he rents the room because she has that like terrible rants on like homophobia and transphobia and all these like things, and he just like talks her down. I think I watched it the first time, rewound it and watched it again because I was like, I need to hear this.
It was a proper mic drop moment. Like he just needed a mic to just, I was like, yeah.
Right? I'm cheering from the screen. I know no one can see me, but I'm like, this is it. This is perfect. No, well, I'm glad that gave you that kind of peace and that kind of like space to like keep going, because I feel like we all need that, especially when a person's giving their soul in the way that you're giving in your book. I'm glad that did. I'm gonna email Martin Sheen and be like, guess what you did for this amazing author.
Definitely did a lot. I also have a very, very supportive partner. I mean, he puts up with so much, and he's also a Krav Maga instructor. So, and he isn't the best at verbal communication, but he understands that, I need to be in my zone or I need some TLC, and he's been so supportive. So because this was finished during lockdown. It was just a very strange time.
Yeah, but I mean, one, shout out to your partner for giving you that. Shout out for being there for you. Because we all need our support system. I'm glad he could be that for you during this crazy time. And that's number 2. Like, shout out to you for seeing this time and not letting it defeat you in your story. And I mean, again, bravo. I admire you so much for this. But last thing I want to talk about, because I think it's so cool, like, I want to know about your Krav Maga journey. Like, how did that start? How, like, you're an instructor. I just want to like, I'm like, a part of me is like, should I go to London and have you train me so I could be your Krav?
You're back.
I will listen. You don't tempt me. I will do it because that sounds so cool. Tell me about your journey there.
So it's also a bit of a love story. That was my cat feeder. Let me start again. So it was also a little bit of a love story as well. So I got married, got divorced, and that was a very difficult time. Very just up and down, everything like that. And I decided that I'm going to go to Cambodia for a sabbatical. Took time off from being a teacher, and thought if I'm going to Cambodia by myself to do volunteering, I probably should learn some self-defense, because it's not safe for a woman, specifically for a small female. I'm only 5'1", so by herself to Cambodia with nobody. Being Jewish, like, I knew about Krav Maga, but never really took it up. And there was always this poster at my local gym. And so they were doing an open day. I went, I met the instructor, and I was like, wow, this is so cool. I really want to learn how to do this. And secondly, this guy's really hot. Like, he's like crazy moves. So I signed up, I started, loved it. Because of all the things that kind of happened. Oh, sorry, that was
very fine.
Because of all the things that happened, I had a lot of pent-up rage that would come out in being a little bit too abrasive or aggressive when I haven't had my cup of coffee, that kind of unnecessary negative toxicity inside. And Krav Maga just helped release that. And I also had a very bad relationship with my body. My weight would go, I would be very, very unhealthy to like super stick thin. I wasn't eating properly, wasn't looking after myself. And I think in a way I was kind of punishing my body for things that happened. A lot of psychological trauma that needed to be resolved. And Krav Maga kind of, I wouldn't say fix that, but it kind of gave me the tools to start trusting my body, loving my body, when I could see that I could start defending myself against a guy who was trying to grab me or punch me or kick me. And I saw that I could actually do it. I was like, this is great. Why isn't everybody else doing it?
Yeah.
And so that my instructor became my partner. So
oh my God.
Ever since. And he's my best friend, he's my trainer, and we work together, we do everything together. It's just, in that sense, like a love story.
Yeah.
Cambodia, came back earlier than I had wanted to because I missed him so much. And I just started training, but I didn't want to become an instructor. It never even crossed my mind. I just thought, I want to learn how to defend myself because I think it's an important tool. I don't want anything that's happened to me in the past ever happen to me again. And the instructor kind of route came through with the kids. So I was a school teacher and I was teaching in an all-girls school. A lot of young girls and women who would come to me and tell me things that were just so heartbreaking of situations they've had with friends that were boys, boyfriends, family members, even within themselves, like groups of girls had just pushing, shoving, hitting each other, violence and all that. And I was like, I need to do something about this. And I couldn't do it through the school route because that just wasn't, you couldn't do that. So I thought, okay, I'm going to start teaching kids. I'm going to start teaching kids how to defend themselves, how to build their confidence, how to use their voices first to de-escalate situations. And so that they also know how to set boundaries as well. And then as I became a kids instructor, during one of my gradings, so one of my exams, and Krav Maga exams are quite long. They're usually like 4 or 5 hours. It was like super exhausting. The head of the Krav Maga Global UK came up to me and said, so you're going to be an instructor then? This was during my exam. I'm like, what? What's going on? So I spoke to my partner. He's like, well, yeah, go do it. Just do it. I believe that you're going to be able to be an instructor. So I went still with no real expectations, was just like, I'm just going to give it my best and just go for it. And I did it. It was super hard. It was 24 days. It was split into 3 sections. Training from 9 till 6 every day.
Oh my God.
Body's like broken, you're sore. They don't make it easier for just because you're a woman. It's everybody trains in the same way. And I did it, and that was like 4 years ago now.
Oh my God.
Yeah, just been doing that. I'm teaching an all women's class, helping women to get their voice, feel more confident, learn how to defend themselves. Hopefully they never have to use it.
Right.
And yeah, that's kind of what I do now. I'm a Krav Maga instructor.
You went for the first one, saw the hot Krav Maga instructor, and now look at you. You're the hot Krav Maga instructor now. Congratulations. Congratulations for that. And also, if there are any women listening who are interested, or would you be happy to publicize where you train, or is
Yep. So any of the ladies listening, you can Google kravmagalondon.co.uk, right? And we're based in South London. There is a class on Sundays, right? In the morning, it's just a ladies group. Everybody's super friendly. It's really relaxed, but we learn how to kick butt, which is really cool.
And that's really cool. I mean, like, one of my favorite shows, I think, on TV or streaming right now is the show Glow. I don't know if you've ever seen it. Yeah. But one of my favorite things about that show is seeing these women get like this agency over their bodies and being like, oh, this is something I never knew my body could do, and I'm doing it. And like, I mean, it's amazing when you see something like that found, especially I feel like in society where like people are always telling women especially how to like things about their body, like making choices about their bodies that they don't have. So I mean, I'm glad that like one, that you found this in Krav Maga and you're giving it back too. You're giving back in this important way. So, oh my God, again, admire you. I admire you so much, Steve. I admire you. No, listen, the second I'm traveling again, first class ticket to London to learn how to Krav Maga. I'm doing it. No, next time you're gonna see me in the back of the class and I'll be like, oh, it's me. And I'm ready to learn. No, oh my God. So that's all I have. And I just want to thank you again for doing this. This has been a fantastic episode of the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I've really enjoyed it. You were my first podcast. So I'm glad that, my first podcast ever is with you. You made me feel so comfortable. I was nervous at first, but no, you've been so great. It's been great chatting with you.
No, it's been great chatting with you. And I just like, this was such a fun conversation to have and such an insightful and important conversation to have too. And I just hope, I hope everyone who's listening truly just understands the work and the, I'm guessing, blood, sweat, and tears that went into this book. And like, you'll just feel that when you read this book, for sure, 100%. Do you have any last things you would like to say to the bookseller in the bookstore community as a whole, the independent bookstore community?
Yes, I do. I love you. I love you all. Please keep selling books because I need to grow my bookshelf. And shout out to all the independent booksellers and bookshops and everyone who works there. It is so difficult for everyone right now, especially bookshop workers and everything, employees. You have to deal with people who aren't quite adhering to certain regulations, and you have to put up with all of that whilst keeping a smile and recommending books. It's just big shout out to all of you. I love you so much. Keep doing what you do.
Oh, I felt the love there. I felt it. Well, thank you so much again. You could buy the Marks Left on Her at any local independent bookstore, but it'll be featured at SKYLIT. So come on by. You'll be able to see a little display for it in front of our bookstore, in the front of our bookstore. But you can also buy it from your own local independent bookstore. Go have a reason to go say hi to a bookseller and thank a local bookseller. And buy Dee's book, which you will love and cherish. And so this has been Dee Lebowitz again, The Marks Left on Her, which will be on sale May 18th. I got it right? Yes. May 18th. Go grab yourself a copy. And thank you again to all my beautiful listeners. Thank you again for tuning into another episode, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the SKYLIT Books podcast series. Please don't forget to visit our website at skylitbooks.com and make sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Also, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast for more author talks and bookseller conversations. You can find us on Podbean, iTunes, and Spotify. Stay safe and healthy, and we hope to see you back in our store soon.
I see